Okay, it's video time. So let's talk about what we're doing here. And hopefully you can see all of this, a lot going on, but hopefully you can see that clear. Just want to make sure. So give me 1 second to go in here. This is 4 bars, not 8. Okay, cool. All right, so let me stop this and tell you what I'm doing. So, can you see this? No, you cannot. So I'm gonna try to help you see it. This is a USB hub. There's 2. This one I like a lot because it has 2 USB C's on this right here. And then that's a HDMI, which I'll probably never use. There's a USB-C charging, and then there's a regular standard USB-A that's there. And then, of course, it runs to there. So I'm running the OP-1 into here. If you run this in first, from the OP-1 into it, have AUM open, automatically it's going to say, it's going to recognize the output and input as the OP-1. Unfortunately, you get a lot of feedback when you do that. So the workaround is to use a 3.5, which looks like this for the phone, right? And on the iPhone or the USB-C one, you can plug in USB-C. So you plug it in and then it recognizes a headphone. So I'm just running that out to the SP and then the SP out to the sound card and speakers. A lot of stuff that you don't have to do, but if you want to be able to play, let's say you just had this and you want to work within this USB hub is going to basically allow you to be able to do that. So you can plug headphones in. The only reason I have it plugged to the speakers is so you can hear what's going on. Okay, let's talk about the workflow. The external source has to be on, and this is just the volume here. So I leave it covered a lot of times, unless I'm using it. So I like to, on the smaller devices, particularly on the iPad mini, I prefer, if I'm not going to work in standalone Koala, I will use Koala and AUM, but I'll use it as an IAA. I hope they don't get rid of that ever, because it kind of helps, because sometimes the little screens here can be kind of challenging. But if it's over here and I can just pull it when I need it, right? Makes it easy. So another thing you'll see on the OP-1, I have it set right now where you see that little Bluetooth thing going on right there? Hold on, go back here. So I'm using the Bluetooth and I'm using the audio out to do 2 different things. One, if I want to play, I can play. And you'll see here I have the USB, right? Which if I touch it, hardware, you'll see it's OP-1 left, right. Then I can use my effects on the sound. So right now I have my 8-bit juggler going on, where I got the vintage 12-bit degradation. Basically, it's just a sound degrader, right? Crusher. And then my EOS, which is sort of like my Valhalla on iPad. And then I have the ability to use scaler on the iPad, right? So if I do Bluetooth, I'm using the Bluetooth to come into the OP-1 field. And by the way, you can do this with your phone too on there. As long as it's got Bluetooth, you're just Bluetoothing the chords, right? So there's the chords. I use 4 chords. That's the 8 chords. Technically it's only 4 chords, but I just stretch them out, right, to make it, actually it's a 4-bar loop. All right, so I did that. I'm playing it, which comes into here, internally goes through here and back out. And you'll see down here, I have my mix bus sent out to mix bus A. So all the tracks go into Koala. And see, when I click Koala now, it comes from the side, right? So there's that. And then I just go in here and lay the 4 bars down. You can push it away when you need to push it away, so you can see the rest of it. So the cool thing about this setup is, if I want to be able to use the hardware, I have that option. But also, because I'm running Bluetooth, I can go in and pull up a bass or whatever I want. So in audio layer, man, I said everything but what I meant. I can click here, and now I can either use a scaler and do it, or I can just say, hey, I want the OP-1 to control this, which I'm going to do the OP-1. So I want the OP-1 to control whatever I bring in here. I'm going to go in and bring up some one of my favorite basses in Trillion that I have in here, which is, it's here, I know, there it is, Petrucci R&B. So in order, now I have to remember that this is still playing. So if I don't want to hear it, I just got to pull that off. So right now what that's doing is playing this. So it's triggering that. So that's a challenge that you got to deal with, because it wants to use the MIDI from there, right? So if I turn it off, then my MIDI, then I got to restart over every time I want to do MIDI. I'm gonna see if that didn't do it. So the only way I can fix that is go MIDI, I think MIDI map. Let me see. Go to MIDI, turn on use MIDI mapping, MIDI map. And this one right here is on C6. So I'm not sure why this is C6, because we're at, that can't be C6. It's only one octave down. So I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'm gonna see if I can just remove the mappings. I very rarely use MIDI mapping in here. If you have a controller that you need to use it on, then yeah, so be it. But I don't use it in here often, or if at all. Okay, so stop. Yeah, so you would have to go in and turn them off on each one. Now, as long as you don't have nothing there, it's nothing to trigger. But if you start filling up, you're gonna have to go in and turn them off. That's just part of the workflow, right? That you got to get used to. On a computer, it's totally different. You don't have any issues like that for the most part. That's typically why I go to Ableton. I love this as a quick on the road, or if you're away and you want to take it, but you don't want to take all the computer and all that kind of stuff. This is a cool workflow. You can do this with your phone, by the way, too. All right, so we got that set. So I've already put this in on the sequence. We'll go back to sample. Remember, in here, you have to have the headphone or you won't hear it. So now if I want to make a bass line, I just need to remember the chords that I use. I use G. Then this is when you see a /D, by the way, that somebody asked me that recently. If you see that, that means you're playing a B flat major 9 and the bass note is a D. So that just lets you know the bass note is going to be a D. Okay, so then that means you're going to play a D. So we play G. I'm going to play G over here. G, D, C, and then there's a C diminished, which is still C. Okay, simple as that. So it's only 3 notes to remember. G, D, C. Now you can play within the scale. So if you look, and I'm just clicking buttons here. You look up here, it shows you a scale. This is a G minor scale. So you could live in that scale and be okay, which is pretty much, that's it. So that means any of those notes should work on the bass. You'll be fine, right? So let's just play it and listen to it. All right, so I kind of have an idea. Play the 5th. So 5th, and then where's the G at? Okay, or octave, use octave, sometimes that helps. All right, so let's just create something. Now, if you're unsure if what you're gonna create is what you're gonna like and you need the MIDI, I think I said this in previous videos, feel free to add a MIDI here, route your stuff from here to there, and then you can use the MIDI to create a recorded track to do audio. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I'm gonna try it without it and see how it goes. If it doesn't go over well, or I feel like I keep messing up, then I'll just do it the easier way, which is use the MIDI. I know I said that's the easier way, and it really is, to me, the easier way. So that's why I said it. All right, but let's just play, see what we come up with. So in order to do this, you have to trigger a track on here, and then you're gonna have to press play here and let it go through and find your cycle. So you could either do a count in. If you're unsure you want to count in, do a count in, right? And set it to 1 bar. Hit there. Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. So you see it cropped it at the beginning. Sorry, that's the, apologies for that. That's the apogee. When the computer is asleep like that, it'll cut the sound card off. So hopefully, all right, we're back. Let me do this. That didn't work. Why is it so staticky like that? I'm not sure. It may be some type of electronic interference. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay, cool. Now what I'm gonna do is zoom in on this side, and I kind of know just about where it's gonna be. That may be a little off. I'm gonna leave a little bit just in case. I'm gonna chop the rest of that though. Crop. I'm sorry about this interference that's going on. If you hear that staticky stuff, it's happening right on the speaker, but it's got to be something that's just interfering. Let me see something here. Huh. It's only when I turn on this. I'll figure that out later. It's coming, the SP is doing something. Not 100% sure why. All right, I don't have time to troubleshoot. Let's keep it pushing. All right, so we have a 4 bar. We need to go to the sequence. Again, we're gonna drop in a 4 bar, right? Pretty simple. So there's the bass, there's that. I haven't even done a single drum, but I'm not worried because I can do that later. I like to turn off the click because it'll drive me nuts if I don't. Take the pre-roll out so that you don't have to wait for it. Why is it static happening? Sorry, it's driving me nuts. I'm gonna figure it out though, don't worry. So it's there's a little point here I can hear where it's kind of messed up, but you get the point. The idea is so you can see the workflow. If I want to perfect that or make it even better, I probably would use the MIDI on this particular instance. Normally I wouldn't, but just because I didn't, this is honestly on the spot. I did not figure out how I was going to play that or what I was going to play. I think there's like one note I would love to change. So there's 2 options. There's chopping it up. Chopping it up. And then there's the other option of just replaying it. I go for more replaying it. When I first started, I would chop it up, but I get tired of doing that sometimes. So I just rather learn how to play it better and let that be it. Okay, so there's that part. So now let's just move on and leave it as is. We'll unplug that. And then we want to do some type of drum. So the good thing about Koala is you could just import the drums right in here, right? You don't have to look for drums. That's for sure. I mean, well, you got to look for drums. You just don't have to worry about not knowing where they're at. They're always here. Now, this could be challenging a little bit. So if you feel like it's too small to see, and it can't, and I'm not going to deny it's definitely at times really small, you click up here where the 3 dots are and go full screen, and it'll open up, right? So let's say you want to do that because you want to be able to see the drums that you're going to bring in. So export. Let's use, that static is really driving me nuts, but I'll have to figure it out. There we go. All right, there's a kick. I don't know why this makes me go all the way back. It's kind of weird. Drums. Now I forgot where we were or what I chose. I want to say I did late night snares. I don't want something that. We'll load that one. I hate that one, to be honest with you. I don't hate it. That was a bad choice of words, but I don't like it. We'll use that one, but I like to tone it down a little bit. There you go. I like it a little more subdued, I guess you might say. Same thing with here. I don't like a kick that. All right, that sounds better already. And I use the tone quite often in here for that. I don't know why this is making me go back like this. It's a little weird. It usually doesn't make me do all that. All right, cymbals. We'll use that one. Make sure you one-shot these if you're going to use, obviously, drum in here. And then take my hands on my face. I apologize. You might, if I sound muffled. Take the tone out. And if you want it to not be so long, like nothing extra. There you go. All right, leave the release off. Sometimes, like if you have like something at the end and is making, put a little release on it. All right, so simple. So I'm gonna move the OP-1 just aside for a second, just so the iPad can be more focused in the center. Okay, so now I'm just gonna lay a simple, now remember you're still in IAA, so you can't just, you gotta trigger it from here. So if you go back into this mode like that, I just drag it back from the, that's why I always keep koala and AUM down here on this bar down here. Because it's easier, like any DAW or DAW-like thing that I use or something I use all the time, keep it there because it's easier to pull from. Especially if it allows you to go slide over, is your friend, in my opinion, in a smaller iPad. And the bigger iPads, it's not so much of a big deal, but I still like it, right? So you could do this. So if you want to do the same principle, put a count in if you want it, hit that in. All right, simple type drumming, press. So if you want this to record in here, you got to make sure you arm it in here first. Don't arm it in here because you're just using this as a mixer. Now we can play. I usually take quantize off and swing. I don't know why I have it on, but it's on. I like to look at the notes in here because I already heard a note that was off. And I just use my hand, I'll be honest. Check your notes. Shouldn't be anything too much off because I actually had quantize on, which I usually don't do, but, and I accidentally played, there it is. Now I got rid of it. And because I'm in this mode, I'll usually let it run and then I'll do the hi-hats. So I'll choose that and I might use note repeat on this one. Turn the velocity on so you can. You see I move my hand up and down to keep that velocity varying. I love that, right? That's one of my favorite things that they added. A little bit of swing in there. Turn that off now. I don't need that. I don't need this click either. I don't need the count in. Turn that off. And that's how I generally get a groove going. I do pretty similar stuff in the MacBook, so it ain't much different. So just get a groove going. And then from there, you can start figuring out, hey, I want to add a little lead. I want to do this, or I want to make a bridge, or whatever you want to write for your song. But you got something started to get you going. Now I'm going to answer another question that somebody had one time. Some people, I kind of answered it. So I told you about the Bluetooth. If you turn on Bluetooth, if you're using this as your keyboard, or if you have a Bluetooth keyboard, my favorite besides this is the X Key Air. The X Key Air is wireless and it's Bluetooth, and I love it just because it's super simple to use. It's paper thin. It's actually thinner than, it's thin, about as thin as an iPad, or it could be a little thinner even. But either way, it's a really good tool to use, easy to pull out, play your notes. Yeah, so use the Bluetooth. The one I choose to use is MIDI emitter, which I will pull up and show you right now. It's right there. And you'll see if you go in, your devices are here, and you can tell it which ports and whatever you want to do. But if you connect, once you connect it, it's connected and you're good to go, okay? Close it out. You don't have to keep it open like the way I had it open there. Boom, and it's there. If you feel like you need to keep it open, just use it as a slide over too. That's another good thing. It works as a slide over, so you don't have to sit there and look at it. But I don't keep it open. If you don't have scalar, tonality works as a slide over, which is great too. So that gives you a free lane, because this takes a channel, this takes a channel, right? All these channels. If you want to be able to see all your channels, like right now, let's see. You can see up to 4 on an iPad mini. So I think it's 4 on everything, but the 12.9 is like 5 channels. So to me, if you can remove this channel, which you can, because scalar can actually work underneath a channel. It doesn't have to just go on a straight MIDI channel. So you could use it over here and free up that whole lane. I'm just so used to pulling out the MIDI, and I like to have one just in case I want to do like the MIDI notes for something, which I don't do often, but if I choose it, I want it to have it, right? Have that lane. So I keep 1 and then 3. The last one needs to always be koala as an IAA if you're going to use this method or this workflow, and then use that slide over to give you the space where you can see everything. And then one of the final things that I do for mixing, if I'm going to use the iPad, is I add all my mixing stuff below the koala thing, right? So the koala thing, the app, you know what I'm saying? So if I'm going to put in, let's say I put that one in. All right, this is the Baby Audio app. And I use a general purpose. There's a sweetener. There's all kinds of good ones in here. There's one called Natural Sweetener, and this is parallel compression, right? And then you can throw in, or you don't have to throw any of this in. I'm just showing you what I throw in. Then I always have haze too. And then I'll go, and then I use the natural width. And then this is where it gets tricky. Sometimes I go tone booster. I'll add a bunch of other stuff and use tone boosters, Barricade, or recently I started using the Grand Finale from Clev Grand. And if I use Grand Finale, then I won't use the other one. And I'll kind of just go through and do like all-purpose shine, or pick something that just makes it sound good. That's pretty good. But see, sometimes what it doesn't do for me, maybe if I try another setting. There we go. Hard. These are actually pretty good. So you can use that If you don't use that, I use Tone Booster's Barricade and they have a preset called Loud Master, and it just works great. This is doing more than just mastering you almost don't need this. I'm gonna get rid of this. So that's pretty good. It's definitely helping with that bass. But let me show you this other one real quick. I'm gonna stop it for a second so I can talk to you. All right. So if I'm not using that one, and sometimes I think I've used them both on a track, but it just depends. The Barricade. This is a limiter compressor, and their presets are actually really good. There's a whole bunch of presets in there. Hardly ever touch any of them but that one, the Loud Master. And then if you just want to change your gain, so sometimes depending on the track, I might make it 3 dB instead of 6 dB, but here's what it does. Let's take this one off so you can hear it. I find it to be more transparent, if that means anything to you. Like it doesn't, like when I hear this Loud Master, maybe it's transparent and it's my imagination, but it sounds like it's doing something extra to the song. See, and that just real plain, it just, I don't know what, to my ears it sounds different. So I'm actually gonna use this one because I like it better actually. Honestly, these two really are all I need. Anything else is just to add a little character or sweetener to it. But you could do all that on the track itself and then have your master simple so you don't have so much going on. And I'll use these two on the actual computer too. I like them that much. I use them on the computer. So and that's it. So that's a basic track with how I would do it in using Koala AUM. Couple presets. You see I don't have much here at all. I would add a lead. This static is driving me nuts. So I'm gonna do this. Just turn it off. I know it's coming from something with the SP. I just don't 100% know where, so I can't really change it right now. So for now, I'm just gonna turn it off. You won't be able to hear the song if I play it, see. So the only workaround is if I unplug it and go straight into these cables here. Let's just do that. We'll just unplug just until I can figure all that out here. So if I want to show you something, I don't have to. Let's see, I think I can still play now. Yeah. If it's bumping too loud for you, how do you tell I'm 90s? I'm talking about bumping. Anyway, turn your dB down a little bit to like maybe 3, something like that. Watch meters. And then there's another app that I haven't really talked about much, but you can put it on here. It's called, it may not be on here. Let me see. I have it. I just don't know if maybe I didn't download it to this. I think it's called Ulean. There it is. It is on here. And it says light, but I actually have the regular version. So let's see. Let's go that. I've already bought it, so it should say somewhere. Oh, there we go. Restore purchases. Cool. So now what's in here is all this stuff I don't know. This is for film and TV gaming, which I'm actually going to just, hold on a second. I'm going to minimize that because I don't do, you can make custom presets, but you see how it has Tidal, Amazon, Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify. So I'm going to use the YouTube, and it's a meter just to help you. Oh, I don't know what it's doing right there. Hold up a second. Maybe it's not working right. Should be. Had a moment. Okay. Let's turn this off too. I'm going to scoot the SP out of the way a little bit just so it's, so you can see where the levels hit. And I honestly don't know how to read this very well. I need to learn. but I don't know what the level is supposed to be or not supposed to be. But you do have these where you can look at the different scopes. I actually like that one because it's moving to the beat. That's kind of cool. But that's just aesthetic. I'm trying to find... I guess -14 is the target number. And I'm at, what am I hitting at? -14.4, -14.5. So it probably needs to come down a little bit. Let's see if I turn the gain, what that does. That actually didn't do nothing. I'm gonna put it back at 6. Let's see what that does. It's peaking though now, so let's see. I'm gonna put it at 4. I need to learn how to read this. It's weird. All right, let's put it at 3.5. See what that does. We're hitting closer to the target number though. If 14 is what is in yellow is the target. So that will be where it should be for YouTube. That's good. Cool. If I read that right, that's cool. All right, so how do we get the music out of here? And how do I stop pressing that button? Okay, to get the music out, if you were trying, we don't have tracks built in here. So you're either gonna export the tracks from here, which means you go in and you just, in here you would export the track, right? You could export the parts. So they're all in here, right? This is a, what is this, an 8 bar, 4 bar? 4 bars, so let's make that an 8. I usually like to keep my stuff around 8. Okay, so there is an 8 bar here. Okay, so you can export that track out and just take the parts, right? Which is cool. It just gives you each part, and then you could go into an arranger and arrange it, or you can arrange it here. You could build parts, and it could be your intro, etc., etc., etc. You know how that works. You can label parts in here. So like if you're on here and you touch this, you can go to tools and label this. This is the chords, right? Label this, bass. I'm not gonna label kicks and all that. I mean, you can if you want to, but you see what I mean. You get the point. And I'll tell you this thing you have to do the most is actually, we'll just call this one Jazzy Groove. I always like to put 75 BPM. I put that in there. I usually put the key. So in this one, the key was, we'll do G minor. Yeah, we'll go G minor. G minor, okay? That way you know what you kind of did and where. So if you lose a part or anything happens, you can always find it. So there it is. It's saved in there. Remember to save a lot, especially with when you're mixing two different situations going on here. So I usually save there, and then I'll come back and save here the same thing. I know it's irritating to do this, but if you know what's more irritating, losing your work. So just save your tracks is worth. Plus, if you want to come back as a reference and see what you used, you have those things here. Like in my case, I used the OP-1 for the keys, but here's my stuff to know exactly what I used on it, right? And then there's my track or my master chain, and Koala's there. So there you have it. So that's the end of this video. I just basically walked you through making a song. And then I showed you a couple tools that you can do if you're trying to use like your OP-1 with the iPad only. It can get pretty frustrating. So make sure you plug this with the can you see this? Yeah. Make sure you're using this cable from your OP-1 into here. Maybe it works on other stuff, but for some reason it gets pretty tricky with these cables, and some cables don't work right. Some do, some don't. Figure it out, but yeah, make sure you have that plugged in first, then put your headphone in last, so that way you will have the option to switch it. For some reason, if you put the headphone in and then put this in, it'll read the OP-1 only and it won't read the cable. Now, this should, in theory, work with the SP. The difference with the SP is you have headphones on the SP, so you could actually use the headphones on the SP and be okay, right? This one has a headphone, but I don't know. Well, let me be honest about that. I don't know for sure if it'll work. I just think it will. But if it doesn't, you know how to do it. Use this and then run your SP into this, then run your headphone, because you can't have more than one. For some reason, you can't have more than one audio interface plugged into the iPad at one time. It doesn't work for that. Now on your computer, that's a whole different ball game. But anyway, so that's the end of this video. We are what? Oh Lord, 36 minutes in. Yeah, better end that. Hopefully you were able to see kind of the process that I use to make music. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. All right, I'm out.